Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's virtual transfer student open house. I am Kaylin Bachnight, Transfer Admissions Counselor within the Office of Admissions and Transfer Resource Center, and I will be moderating tonight's event. Our team is so glad that you are interested in pursuing College of Charleston as the next step in your undergraduate career. The transfer process can seem daunting, maybe even a little scary, but no matter where you are in your academic journey, the goal of tonight's events is to give you all the information, tips, insider knowledge to make your transfer application process to the college a breeze. Tonight is our first transfer student virtual open house, and we will have a lot of great information to cover. We'll start with a transfer information session followed by a financial aid presentation, and then we will conclude with a panel of our current students who transferred to the College of Charleston. If you have any questions during the event, please make sure to submit them through the live chat function in Teams. And with that, we will get started with the transfer information session. So we are going to cover a couple different topics, some of the ones that our transfer students seem to be most interested in. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to use the chat function in Teams. So some of the topics we are going to cover is just a quick College of Charleston overview. We're going to talk a little bit about our Transfer Resource Center, transferring credits, which I know is a huge topic for our transfer students. Then we're going to get into the application and requirements, and then some important upcoming dates. The College of Charleston was founded in 1770, so we did just reach 250 years, which was a huge milestone for the college. We are the 13th oldest institution in the United States, and we are recognized as a public liberal arts and sciences university, and we are located in the heart of downtown Charleston. College of Charleston is a really unique place to be because it blends our history with our contemporary facilities and our cutting edge programs. We are a teaching institution, which means that none of our classes are taught by teaching assistants, but they are taught by professors. So interesting fact there. We also have a really low student to faculty ratio. It's about 14.5 to 1. So this means students receive individualized attention, the opportunities to work really closely with professors. Some of our students will take that upon themselves to even research with their professors, which is a unique opportunity that our students have. We have around 10,000 undergraduate students and about 1,000 graduate students. So we are a smaller institution, but we still have all the resources of a bigger institution, including our research. We have 62 majors and 80 minors, so there's definitely something for everyone. We want you to pursue your passion, so you'll always be able to do that. Some of our popular majors are psychology, business, hospitality and tourism management. Great place to do that in the heart of downtown, and also history. Again, another great place to do that. We are a Division I NCAA athletic school. We have 18 athletic teams, and we participate in the Colonial Athletic Association. So always great to see our students supporting our student athletes at athletic functions and games. Now we are going to discuss the Transfer Resource Center, which is a great resource for our transfer students here at the College of Charleston. We opened in 2018, so we are just coming up on our 2-year birthday, which is really exciting. The Transfer Resource Center is a resource and a center for all things transfer. Our staff assists with prospective, admitted, current, and maybe even past students if they have questions about their courses. The mission of the Transfer Resource Center is to support, guide, retain, and advocate for transfer students and all students with transfer credit. We also have a transfer mentor program in our Transfer Resource Center, which matches current students with new transfer students in their first semester. This is a really great program that we have for our transfer students who are just coming in, maybe don't know a ton of people. Our mentors are awesome. We'll help with whatever the students need. If it's walking to class, eating lunch with them on their first day, helping with anything and everything. So it's always great to have a whole center dedicated to helping our transfer students. Our transfer mentors also participate in Transfer Resource Center events such as National Transfer Student Week. We also have fun meet and greet things throughout the year, and you'll also hear from them a little later in our transfer panel. We are also a Tau Sigma institution. We are home of the Alpha Rho chapter of Tau Sigma, and that is an academic honor society which is designated specifically to recognize and promote the academic excellence and involvement of transfer students. We love our transfer students here at the college. We provide as many resources as possible, so you will always have a place, you will always have a point of contact or someone to help you through this process. So the Transfer Resource Center is awesome. Transferring credit is a huge topic of conversation with transfer students, and we can understand why. We accept a maximum of 90 credit hours that can be transferred. A maximum of 66 of those 90 can be from a 2-year institution. And then we recently started taking joint service transcript credit. So out of those 90, 30 can be of your joint service transcript. We accept transcript from a couple different places, so previous colleges or institutions attended. You'll need to earn a C or higher at a regionally accredited institution if you would like to receive credit for that. And then college credit by exam, AP, IB, CLEP, all of that, Cambridge exam. We want to make sure that our students are receiving credit for that if they worked hard and studied for those high school exams. We also accept international credit, which our students do need to submit a course-by-course evaluation from an external evaluation agency in English translation. So international can be a little bit tricky, but I'm happy to help you with any questions that you might have and steps with that process. And then, like I said earlier, we do accept military credit. All of our credit needs to be eligible for evaluation and meet requirements. You can find those on our website. Again, I did kind of touch base on a couple of those with earning a C or higher at an accredited institution. So again, if you have questions, happy to help you. Go ahead and put those in our chat, or you can also email the Transfer Resource Center or myself, and we will be happy to help you with that. So how do you find out if your credits are going to transfer? We have a couple different resources on our Transfer Resource Center page. We have a transfer equivalency database that students can play around with that. We also have select courses that can transfer from South Carolina schools. So that's really interesting to check out. It's a great way if you're looking to see what you can take in the future for maybe a College of Charleston transfer down the line. Happy to help with that as well. Transferology is a free resource for our students. You just need to make an account and you can kind of plug in what you've taken in the past and then go ahead and see how that translates to the College of Charleston. With those resources, if your course isn't in there, that's okay. It doesn't mean that it's not going to transfer. It just might mean that we haven't looked at the equivalency of that. So definitely feel free to give us a call if you're interested to learn more about that. We also have a pre-transfer advisor who is awesome, phenomenal. She is amazing. What our pre-transfer advisor can help with is taking a look at your previous transcripts, credits, and discuss with you how those will transfer to the College of Charleston. This is a great resource. You don't need to be applied or accepted to the college to take advantage of this. It's also really great if students might not want to transfer into the next semester, but say they want to transfer in a year. She can help plan maybe your next couple semesters so you have a seamless College of Charleston transfer. With that, you'll just need to contact our Transfer Resource Center to schedule an appointment, and she will be happy to work with you. So the application and requirements. The application is done completely online. We do have an application portal for that. You can either attach any required materials or submit those to our admissions team. Our personal statement and essay are optional. I really strongly encourage our students to fill those out as we do read each one of them. We are test optional, so you do not have to submit ACT, SAT scores if you feel that that would help your decision, then you are more than happy to, you're more than willing to send those in, go for that. The requirements for our transfer students, 2.6 cumulative GPA on all college work. So that is a cumulative GPA from however many institutions that you've attended in the past. We have different requirements for our students who have earned 12 hours after graduation or under 12 hours after graduation. So if you've earned over 12 hours after your high school graduation, you will be required to submit the application and either attach or email the required materials, which are going to be any transcripts from previous institutions. Fewer than 12 hours earned, you'll be required to submit your final official high school transcript. So that needs to be sent from your high school because we need it to be official. And then any college level transcripts from, say, if you did post-secondary or anything like that. And then we will also need midterms from your current institution if you are attending during that semester. So again, fewer than 12 hours, any transcripts from previous institutions, and then midterms and a final official high school transcript sent from your high school. Some of our upcoming important dates are spring 2021 application deadline is December 1st. If you're looking to transfer for fall 2021, our application is also available for you guys to fill out now as well. That is going to be due later in the summer of 2021, but if you want to get a head start, that's awesome. And then our spring housing deadline is November 1st. Students need to submit your enrollment confirmation to have access to the housing application. So if you're interested in doing that, please be sure to get your application in time so we can get you a decision before that November 1 deadline. And yeah. All right, so now that we talked a little bit about the transfer information, if you guys do have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the chat, or you can email myself. My email is Bouknight, so that's B as in boy, O-U-K, N-I-G-H-T, and the letter K at CofC.edu. You can also find that on our transfer resource website, and I will be happy to help you with the application process and any other questions that you may have. Next, we'll be joined by Erica Harrison-Jones, who is the Associate Director for Financial Aid and Veteran Affairs. Erica will be providing an in-depth overview of the financial aid process for students transferring to the College of Charleston. Erica?
Thank you, Kaylin. And thank you all for spending a little bit of time with us this evening for our virtual open house for transfer students. I wanted to take just a few minutes to talk to you about the financial aid process and some of the things that you can expect when you are looking to transfer to the College of Charleston. So what is financial aid? Anytime you hear the term financial aid, it could mean scholarships, and those scholarships could come from the state, they could come from the institution, or they could come from an outside source. Grant funding is generally free funding that's based on financial need, and those grants could come from the federal government, they could come from the state, or they could come from the institution. You also have things like federal work study, which is basically an employment opportunity. So being able to work on the College of Charleston's campus and receive a paycheck for the hours that you work during a particular window of time. And then last but not least, loans. So those loans could come from the federal government, or they could come from a private or alternative loan source. And those loans could be in the name of the parent and or the student. So as we go through this, there are just a couple of terms that I want to make sure that you are familiar with. So the cost of attendance versus billable costs. So when you apply to the institution and we award financial aid, we award it based on your cost of attendance. That simply represents the maximum amount of financial aid that a student can receive during an academic year. It's very different generally than what's considered billable costs. So generally, when you receive a a bill from the treasurer's office, you are only going to be billed for things like tuition and fees, room and board if you are living on campus, and library and technology fees. Those are generally the only things that you will see on the bill, but your cost of attendance will have other components such as books and supplies, a personal and miscellaneous allotment. And the reason those are there is because the federal government will allow you to use federal financial aid to help pay for some of those indirect costs. Professional judgment is another important term, and we'll talk a little about that when we get to the slide with the FAFSA. And then federal verification, and we'll talk a little about that when we get to the FAFSA as well. So the state scholarship program, if you are a South Carolina resident and were a resident of South Carolina at the time that you graduated high school and at initial college enrollment, we can evaluate you for one of the state scholarship programs. To be evaluated for state scholarships, we do require that you submit a final high school transcript to the Office of Admissions. So while we understand that transcript may not be a requirement to be admitted to the college, it is a requirement if you are wanting to be evaluated for state scholarships. If you are a South Carolina resident and currently receiving the South Carolina Palmetto Fellows Scholarship, you do have to complete a transfer form, and that form has to be submitted to the South Carolina Commission on Higher Education for processing. Please be advised, though, when you submit that form, it could take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks for them to complete that process and send the information over to us, providing approval for us to do the awarding. When we are determining your eligibility for the state scholarship programs, it's based on when you first began your college level courses. So, for example, if you graduated in 2018 and you went to an institution in fall of 2018 and you took a semester off or you took a year off, those semesters that you were not attending courses, they still count against your terms of eligibility. So when we are going in and determining whether or not you have met the criteria for a particular scholarship, we are going back and looking at the very first time or the very first semester that you took the first set of college level courses outside of high school. You also want to ensure that all of your college transcripts and AP scores are on file with the Office of Admissions and or the Transfer Resource Center to ensure that there is no delay in the processing of your state scholarship eligibility. And for students that are in their second year of enrollment, if you are eligible for the state scholarship enhancement, we go in and we determine your eligibility for that particular portion of the scholarship at the same time that we're determining your baseline scholarship eligibility. So it's important to make sure that you declare your major as soon as you are able to, because you have to be in that eligible program in order for us to award the enhancement. Next slide, please. Outside scholarship resources. So it's a practice in our office to make sure that we are encouraging students to look for scholarship resources outside of the institution. So some of the places that you can look if you are involved in any type of civic organizations, check with them to see if there are any scholarships available as a result of being part of the organization. If you are a dependent student, checking with civic organizations that your parents may be a part of. They are scholarships to dependents of individuals that are a part of a particular organization. College financial aid websites. Most of the time when we put scholarship information out on the website, it's not just based on our institution. It would be based on a particular area most of the time. So I encourage you to go out and look on those websites and see if there are outside opportunities that you may be able to apply for. And then last but not least, major scholarship databases. So the ones that are listed by all means is not an all-inclusive list, but these are some of the ones that we recommend to students and families when they're looking for outside scholarship resources. I always encourage students to create a profile so that these websites can send you only scholarships that you would likely be eligible for. That way it doesn't bombard you with a ton of opportunities that you necessarily meet the criteria for. So FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. That application became available on October 1st. So if you are looking to transfer to the college starting in fall 2021, that application is available for you now. You would want to make sure, though, when you log into the system to complete it, select the one specifically for 2021, 2022. It would be based on 2019 federal tax information, and we use this to help us determine your eligibility for grant funding and for loan funding. If you are considering transferring to the college for spring 2021, you would need to make sure that when you go in to make a correction to your FAFSA or do one for the first time, you're selecting the academic year 2020-2021. The priority deadline. So here at the college, we have certain forms of aid where we only receive a certain amount of money for the academic year. So we have what's called a priority deadline in place. And we put that there so that we can give students priority consideration for those buckets of funds that are likely to run out before the academic year is over. So our priority deadline is March 1st. So for students who are considering transferring for fall 2021, you have until March 1st of 2021 to get that FAFSA application into us. The FAFSA parent of record. So we get this question quite often. If you are in a situation where your parents may have been divorced or they were never married and you're trying to figure out which parent's information is supposed to go on that application. The federal government defines the FAFSA parent of record as the parent that the student lived with the most during the last 12 months. If the student lived with both parents equally in that last 12-month window of time, then it's going to be the parent that provided the most financial support for that student over the last 12 months. Whichever parent ends up being the FAFSA parent of record, if that parent is then subsequently remarried, then that step parent's information has to go on that FAFSA application as well. And then professional judgment. So the FAFSA is based on either 2018 or 2019 federal tax information, depending on when you are planning to transfer. And we recognize that so much has changed in the world, and a lot of families may have experienced a change in financial circumstances, especially due to things like COVID. So when you go to complete that FAFSA, if your financial situation now is very different than what the taxes would have shown for either 2018 or 2019, make sure that you reach out to the financial aid office after you have submitted that FAFSA so that we can guide you through the process and determine your eligibility for financial aid based on your current circumstances. Next slide, please. So this one talks about grant funding. So we have just a quick table here that shows most of the forms of grant funding available at the college. So the first one is going to be the South Carolina Need-Based Grant. That one is available only for South Carolina residents. It's up to $2,500 annually, and it is only available at South Carolina public institutions. You have the federal Pell Grant, which is a federal grant. It's based on the FAFSA. For the 2020-2021 academic year, the highest amount that a student could have received from the federal Pell Grant would have been $6,345. The amount that a student is eligible to receive is based on what's called the EFC, or the expected family contribution. And this is the number that is generated when you complete the FAFSA and you enter all of that income information and household information. We have on here that the federal Pell Grant is considered an entitlement. So that means the funds never really run out. So regardless of when you complete that FAFSA within the academic year, if you are eligible for that money, the school will award you that regardless of that time frame. You have the federal SEOG grant. The amount of that varies by institution. I think this year the maximum we were able to award is $1,000 per student. It requires completion of the FAFSA, and the federal government says that that money has to be awarded to the students that demonstrate the highest level of financial need first. And then last but not least, we have institutional grants. And this is money that the college would be offering to you. And it's based on financial need. Again, it varies by institution, but here at the college, this year, we were able to offer up to $2,300 per student. So federal student loan amounts. So once you've completed the FAFSA, you've sent that information over to us, we will go in and determine what your eligibility is as far as loan funding and grant funding. So when you receive that financial aid package, you are likely to receive an offer of some level of federal student loans. There are normally two types. You have the federal direct subsidized loan, which just means that the federal government pays the interest on that loan while you are in school. And then you have the federal direct unsubsidized student loan, which just means the interest begins to accrue on that loan at the time that we disperse the funding. The federal government has annual loan limits that are set on federal student loans. So here on the left-hand side, we have what those annual loan limits are. So if you are a first-year dependent undergraduate student, that amount is capped at $5,500 for the year. Now, we also have to take into consideration if you attended an institution in fall and you received some level of student loan funding there, we have to deduct that amount from your annual limit, and that would be the remaining amount would be what we're able to offer for if you were transferring mid-year. So it's $5,500 the first year, $6,500 the second year, $7,500 third year and beyond. And then we also have the aggregate loan limit that's set by the federal government. So they have set that at $31,000, meaning that you cannot borrow more than $31,000 in your lifetime for an undergraduate degree if you are a dependent student. So once we have made an offer of financial aid and we've looked at your loan eligibility, we've looked at your grant eligibility, the last thing that's out there is going to be the Federal Direct Parent Plus loan. So that loan is in the name of the parent, but it is for the benefit of the student. So parents, they have a minimal credit check that they would be subjected to, and when they do that credit check, it's going to be either they're approved for the loan or they're denied for the loan. If they are approved, the parent can request to borrow up to the student's cost of attendance for that academic year. If the parent is denied, the federal government says that the student can borrow additional unsubsidized student loan funding as a result of that denial. Remember, unsubsidized means that the interest begins to accrue at the time that we disperse the funding. So for a freshman or a sophomore, they cap that additional unsubsidized loan at $4,000 for the year. If you are a junior or a senior, that's capped at $5,000 for the year. So on this particular slide on the right-hand side, if you were a dependent student whose parent was denied for the Parent Plus loan and you were a first-year undergraduate, instead of you being able to borrow $5,500, you'd be able to borrow up to $9,500. If you were a second-year student, it would be $10,500. And then third year and beyond, it would be $12,500. It's important to note that the federal government does charge an origination fee of 1.059% on any of the federal student loans. So that means they take that amount off the top before any money is sent to the institution for us to disperse towards your e-bill. And the current interest rate on federal student loans is 2.75%. We can go to the next slide. And that is all I have. If you do have any questions that maybe were not answered during this financial aid session, I encourage you to send an email to our office. That email address is financial aid, so FINANCIALAID @cofc.edu. Our counselors work that inbox all day, every day, and our office is open 8:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Monday through Friday.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erica. That was great information, and I'm sure it was extremely helpful to our guests tuning in. As Erica mentioned, if anyone has additional questions, please feel free to email financial aid. I also put that email in the chat. Might be a little bit easier to copy and paste that email address. Now we are going to get to chat with our transfer students. So I'm going to introduce Lisa Chesney, who is the director of the Transfer Resource Center, and she will be moderating our current student panel. Lisa?
Thanks, Kaylin. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm very excited to moderate today's panel with a lot of our current transfer students, as well as I believe also a former transfer student. So before we go ahead and dive into all of the questions, I would like to have them go ahead and introduce themselves. So panelists, if you don't mind sharing your name, your major, your class year, and your hometown with the whole group. Alexa, do you mind starting us off?
Yeah, of course. Hi, my name's Alexa. I am a junior at the college. I'm majoring in hospitality and tourism, and this is my second year as a transfer at CofC. Oh, and I'm from Long Island, New York.
Thanks, Alexa. Michaela, do you mind going next?
Hi, I'm Michaela Henderson. I'm a senior political science major. My hometown is Charleston, and I transferred to the college in fall of 2018.
Thanks, Michaela. Emily, are you able to go next?
Yes. Hi, I'm Emily. I'm from North Augusta, South Carolina. I'm a senior biology major, and this is my 4th semester at the college.
Wonderful. We're also joined by Yariana.
Hi, my name is Yariana Franco. I'm a public health major and a senior at the college. I transferred in the fall of 2018, and I'm from Somerville, South Carolina.
Wonderful. And last but not least, we are also joined by Kevin.
Hi, I know my screen says Christina, but I am Kevin. I'm from South Kingstown, Rhode Island. I transferred in the spring of 2017, and I was a supply chain information management major and a global logistics minor, and I graduated this past 2020.
Wonderful. So we have a lot of different transfer students represented on tonight's panel, but we're going to go ahead and just jump right into our questions. So our first question for our panelists is it difficult to find your community as a transfer student? What resources or efforts did you use to find your people and your niche on campus?
I'll go ahead and answer this. I will say I transferred in the middle of the year because I came in for the spring semester. And that was kind of confusing time for me because everyone else, like if you transfer in the fall kind of thing, you have all those like big events because all the freshmen are coming in. So you have like a big, everyone's coming in together kind of thing. Whereas in the spring, it wasn't the same kind of thing. But I will say that I immediately threw myself into all of like the clubs and stuff at the involvement fair, which they do like the first week that you get here. And I found a lot of friends by joining different clubs, and I think that's the best advice, is just do that.
Getting involved is definitely an important piece of finding your place on campus. Does anyone else have anything they want to add to that?
Yeah, I can go. So for me, I knew one or two people coming in as a transfer student, and I came in the fall of my sophomore year. So it was like a little bit difficult for me, but like Emily said, I also threw myself into getting involved right away, trying to make as many friends as possible with that. And honestly, it worked for me. So I think as long as you just are able to like be able to open up really quickly and like try to do everything you can to get involved, it'll be a great help for you to make friends.
Great. We can go ahead and we'll move on to our next question. So this is a good one. What surprised you the most about the College of Charleston once you had transferred and enrolled at the college?
I would say, Michaela talking, I would say something that surprised me the most was how many transfer students there actually are at College of Charleston. I was sitting in my Spanish class for weeks, and now my roommate and best friend transferred from the school that I had transferred from, and we literally didn't know for weeks. So I think that's something to keep in mind if you transfer to the College of Charleston, there are so many transfer students, and so that's what surprised me the most.
That's correct. And College of Charleston is about, the undergraduate student body is made up 25% are transfer students. So you're definitely not alone in your transfer student experience. To our other panelists, what were the surprises that you encountered?
This is Kevin. I guess I can answer to that question. I would say one thing that really surprised me was how intimate the classes are. Some of them are, 25 to 30 people. So it was easier to get questions answered. And I think it was less intimidating to raise your hand if maybe you weren't 100% of what was going on during a lecture. And I would follow that up with the accessibility of my professors. Even after office hours, they seem to always be readily accessible and always willing to work with my schedule. So that was really surprising. It really wasn't an uphill battle in the classroom or outside the classroom. So I was really surprised with that.
Any other surprises from our panelists?
This is Emily. I guess one thing that surprised me was I was really intimidated by the fact that the College of Charleston is in downtown Charleston and that I was going to get lost every day and I would never find my way. But it's actually not as scary and big as you might think. So I think that's one thing that surprised me is I found my way relatively quickly and everything's been great ever since.
Great. Yes, we'll move on to our next question. So what is on-campus living like as a transfer student? In your opinions, do you think it's better for transfer students to live on campus instead of off campus during their first year or semester after transferring to the college?
Okay, so I think this is the mistake that I made because I lived off campus my first semester as a transfer, but I think looking back on it, I would have rather lived on campus because I feel like that would have got me, I would have had a roommate like who could have been going through the same situation as I was, and like I've never had the dorm experience at College of Charleston, so I think it would have been better for me to get more involved with people on my floor, people around the campus more. But I liked living off campus. I lived in one of the off-campus apartments. I had random roommates who were all very, very nice, but it's walking, but it's a good community there. But I think my mistake was not living in a dorm or one of the historic houses. So I think my advice would be, if possible, and if it's something you are semi-interested in, like, I would just take a leap of faith and do it, because looking back, I kind of regret not living in housing when I transferred.
This is Emily again. I agree with Alexa here. I lived off campus, but in a house, and I had 2 random roommates, and it was great living with them, and I loved where I lived, and it was super close to campus. But like Alexa was saying, it's great to have that community kind of vibe if you're living on campus. And I think if I could do it again, that would probably be one thing, because you see all the freshmen, like when they live in a dorm, they come out with friends from their hall and they have all these experiences like that. But whereas if you live like in a house or like an off-campus apartment, you kind of miss out a little bit on that.
Right, so it really sounds like on-campus housing is another great opportunity and way for you to build some community and to meet some other students, whether they're freshmen or transfer students. So we will go ahead, we'll move on to our next question. So our 4th question, how supportive are faculty and staff to transfer students? Particularly if you felt like there's a big change in your academic experience coming from your previous school. Kevin, I know you touched on this a little bit already. I don't know if you have anything extra to add.
Yeah, they're very supportive. I think one thing that's that proves that Charleston's really, not to sound corny, but that College of Charleston is really part of the fabric of Charleston, the city of Charleston as a community, as this vibe and kind of the Southern hospitality carries over to the college, where it seems like the less you know and the more questions you have, they seem more willing to help you. So I would go with what Alexa was saying, what Michaela was saying, and Emily was saying of, you know, just get involved and ask. Like, don't be scared to ask questions. You know, your questions won't get answered if you don't ask, and no one's a mind reader. I think that's part of college too, right? Is growing and maturing, and it's okay not to know. And you'll be surprised that when you reach out to your advisor or you reach out to your professors or even a classmate that you've never talked to, like, hey, did you understand what the professor just said about this project? You'll be really surprised that people are willing to engage you. And like I said, I really think that's part of being in Charleston. That's everyone's just really friendly and go with the flow, and I think it makes it a lot less intimidating when you are a transfer student. I think it's easier for you to find a home faster. So I don't know if that helped answer the question, but that was my take on it.
Yeah, this is Michaela speaking. I have to agree with Kevin on this. We have the Transfer Resource Center, and I feel like that just right there is more than what you get at a lot of schools. And my advisors, comparatively from my last school to College of Charleston, which was also a South Carolina school, my advisor has been great. I can ask him anything. He's like always there. My professors, even if you can't make their office hours, they're more than willing to help you. And I've never had a professor or anybody at College of Charleston not be willing to help. So I agree with Kevin. There's a lot of support here.
Just to add on to that, this is Yariana. Even though we're all transfer students, I feel like even people who have started at the College of Charleston right from freshman year, they still don't even know as much as, like, we as transfer students probably think that they know a lot more than we do, but I feel like we're all kind of just on the same boat, all learning and growing and experiencing everything together. So it's definitely good to ask questions to whoever you can.
I've had like a teacher, oh, it's Alexa speaking. I've had teachers email us saying, hey, if you want to come to this spot, like just to study and like ask extra questions, please do, like at the Starbucks on campus or by the library. I came from a school with 30,000 kids and I wasn't doing the greatest. And then I came here, had the small intimate classes, and I saw like a huge increase in my GPA. So the smaller classes and the more intimacy with your professors really helped me. I know it helped me a lot grow academically as a student, and also enhanced like my learning, and I made me a better person because of it, because they were so helpful no matter what.
Great. We'll go on to our next question. So as a transfer student, have you been able to stay on a four-year graduation track? And what were some of the resources or campus partners that you used to help assist you in staying on your academic pathway?
This is Ariana. I'm actually on the four-year track. I wouldn't have been if I didn't take summer classes though, just because not all of my credits transferred the way that I thought they would. A lot of them did, but just a couple really threw me off track. But just going to my advisor and having them help me come up with a plan for classes was definitely helpful. They were able to let me know the classes needed to take before other classes, just kind of like prereqs, just so I had them in the correct order and everything. So just definitely seeing my advisor helped out a lot.
I would, this is Kevin, I'm sorry. Yariana hit it just so spot on. Your advisors are great and they're there to help you plan your schedule and to stay on track. I mean, I believe that's part of your orientation is to set up your track so you're on schedule to graduate on time. But it is also our responsibility as the student, like Yariana was saying. She had to take summer classes. I was in the same exact boat where I was on the four-year track, but a couple classes maybe didn't transfer, or maybe there was this one class that was a prerequisite for everything in my major coming after it. So I did have to take summer school, and I would say something about summer school is the name fits the professors that are selected to teach it. So although it is a shorter span of learning lessons, they do a really good job of giving you the material in as low of a stress environment as possible, knowing that it is a shortened semester without taking away from the quality of the education that you're paying for. But yeah, I would just highlight again that that is something that is very critical to pay attention to your scheduling, because it's very easy to get off track. And I know for some of my friends who had switched majors or switched minors, it was a good idea, but it is a really quick way to get off track and extend your stay there at the College of Charleston.
This is Emily. Another thing I want to add for anyone that might be like a biology or pre-health major kind of thing, there's also this really amazing woman named Karen Eipert, and she, like, I went to her the day after orientation. So this was like, for when I transferred in the spring, that was like 2 or 3 days before the start of the semester. And I went into her office and I was like, this is what I have. This is what I'm going to do. I want to do this after I graduate. And she laid out a 4-year plan starting like from my theoretical freshman year here, and like how I needed to adjust my schedule from then on, since I was coming in as a sophomore. And I have been able to stay in contact with her since then, and she's amazing. She has different like groups that help you, like if you are on the pre-health track, that they'll help you with like interview prep and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you are a pre-health person, anything, definitely contact her, because she was like my saving grace when I transferred here.
And Karen Eipert is the pre-health advisor for the entire, so she is a really great resource if you are thinking about going down a pre-health track. I guess we'll move on to our next question, which has to do with orientation. So is there a transfer specific orientation, or will I be with all freshmen during your orientation experience? And I think it'll be helpful too, also, if we get panelists, some of you to share who started in the fall semester, and I know a few of you started in the spring semester as well, getting both perspectives.
Yeah, so this is Alexa speaking. I took orientation over the summer because I transferred into the fall of 2018, so the start of my sophomore year. I went in, I saw a lot of freshmen, and I was like, oh geez, I'm probably going to be stuck with freshmen. And then I noticed they give out folders right when you get there, and I noticed mine was a different color than everybody else's, so I was like, oh, okay, you know, maybe it's just because I'm a transfer student. Come to find out that what I like about it is that they group all of the transfers in the orientation all together. So you're not doing orientation with freshmen, you were doing orientation with transfer students. So I was in a big group with all transfer students. And it made me feel so much more comfortable because I know if I had to do orientation with freshmen, they wouldn't cover some of the topics that transfer students really need, all the credits, everything like that. And they go with you and go through how to do your schedule and everything like that. Some of the things are the same as the freshman orientation, but some of the things are different. So you can honestly register for any orientation. I registered for one that was convenient for me since I'm an out-of-state student, so I had to fly down, get in a hotel and stay. And I was just in a transfer group, and it made my experience so much better, I think. And I'm so glad they do that, so you're not uncomfortable and learning different things.
This is Emily. Another thing that's good about being in a transfer specific orientation was then when I went to classes afterwards, I could pick out people that were in my group at orientation, and I knew they were transfer students. So I knew they were going through the exact same thing as me, and I was kind of like, hi, I don't know if you remember me from orientation, but you were in my transfer group. Let's exchange numbers so you're in my classes and we can be friends. So that was really helpful.
Great. So there's definitely, there are transfer components, and I can speak from the Transfer Resource Center side. We do present to every transfer student at orientation, so you will definitely get transfer specific knowledge at any orientation session that you do attend. Generally, I am joined by a couple other of my colleagues from the Transfer Resource Center because we do want to come and say hello and welcome all of you to the College of Charleston in person. But I guess we'll go ahead and move on to our next question, which is just really simple. What is your favorite part about being a College of Charleston student? Is there anything that you think could be improved at CofC for the overall student population or transfer students in particular?
This is Michaela. I think that one of my favorite things about being a CofC student is all the traditions that we have at the college. CofC just turned 250 years old the past year, and there were a lot of fun things that happened with that. We have so many fun traditions like the ring ceremony and commencement, and everything CofC does is very tradition oriented. So I think that's probably my favorite part. And I don't know if there's anything that I can think of that CofC can improve on right now.
Alexa here. I'm going off Michaela. I have to agree with her about the traditions. One thing that I really admire about CofC is how different their commencement ceremony is from other graduations. You're not wearing a basic cap and gown. You're wearing all white. And I just love that it's in front of the cistern and you get the true beauty of Charleston and you get to live in the traditions that have been going on since the beginning. So I think it's kind of cool that you're not going through a normal graduation with the caps and gowns. You're doing something unique, and that's really cool. And also I love being right in the middle of the city. There's so many opportunities, so many things to do, so many sights to see, and things that CofC, honestly, I really, just like Michaela said, I really cannot think of anything that it could be improved on. I loved my experience so far, and I'm sad to go once I graduate.
This is Emily. One of my favorite things is, Alexa kind of commented on this, was just being in the heart of Charleston. I previously went to a school that was kind of in the middle of nowhere and there wasn't really anything to do, but I've kind of gotten the habit that after I go to classes and stuff, I walk down King Street. Not really anymore since the pandemic, but typically I'll walk down King Street, go sit in Marion Square, unfortunately shop a little bit too much because it's so close, but that's probably my favorite part, is just being in this city and stuff like that.
Great. Does anyone else have anything to add? All right, we'll move on to our next question. So is it difficult to balance classwork with working full or part-time for students who are transferring to CofC maybe after taking a few years off from undergraduate studies, maybe just following through directly from high school. How is it in terms of difficulty, in terms of balancing your classwork while working?
This is Yariana. In my experience, so I went to a super small college before I transferred, and I played soccer, so I wasn't able to work. And then transitioning to College of Charleston, and then starting a part-time job. I also live at home, so I commute. It did take time to adjust to that entire routine. It was just completely different. And then another thing is that I was also working part-time I was actually working full-time over this past summer when I took 2 summer classes in 1 term. So I definitely do not recommend taking 2 summer classes while working because, I mean, I definitely managed it, but it was just a lot more strenuous than I had expected. So yes, that is my experience.
This is Michaela. To jump off Yariana, I 100% agree. I have worked not at all full-time, part-time, I've done it all. And it can be a little stressful, but it helps you learn time management, first of all. But your professors and advisors are really there to help you. And if you feel like you're drowning, they're great about helping you if you communicate with them. And so I feel like although it can be difficult, there are ways to help yourself. And I will also say I've done summer classes while working full time, and I would recommend doing 1 summer class at a time while working full time, just because everything is really excelled in the summer. And so the balance can be a little bit difficult, especially because you're probably going to be doing your classes at night and working during the day, or vice versa. So I would recommend doing 1 summer course as well.
So what is the Transfer Mentor program? I know some of you are serving as transfer mentors. What are the benefits of participating in this program?
Okay, this is Alexa. So this is actually my first year as a transfer mentor. I'm really excited to be a part of it. I've met a lot of great other mentors. All of us are so great. We're so excited to meet the new transfer students and work with them. I think some of the benefits would probably be you get to meet some other transfer students. And I know coming in, I was really nervous about that because I was like, oh my gosh, there's like, I don't know anybody. I really want to just meet as many people as possible. I think it's helping. Part of the reason why I joined is because I wanted to grow as a person and I wanted to hear about other transfer student stories while telling them about my own, so I can learn something from them and they can learn something from me. And also I just like really wanted to help somebody's transition go smoothly like mine did. And I think there's just so many positive benefits for it. And the mentors are here to serve as like a friend or just a mentor, anything you need to, if you need help with the class, if you just have a question, or if you just want to like get lunch or something. Like, I think that's what the whole program is all about, and you can learn and grow so much from it.
This is Michaela. So this is my second year being a transfer mentor, and we're doing it a little bit different this year where we're doing transfer chats where you can just come on and join and we tell our experience, we hear other people's experience, like Alexa said, and you could just ask random questions. And so we see in the chat there's a question about the food on campus. So not only do we have great food downtown, where we have so many amazing restaurants, but we have a few dining halls that can cater to your, like, if you're a vegetarian or anything like that, and they're all really great. I've had good experiences at all of them with several options, so that might help. But also just downtown we have, obviously Charleston is like known for food. So, but those are some of the questions that we answer in the transfer chats. So that's something that I really love about being in the mentor program is you can just ask us random questions or, just hear people's experience.
Wonderful. And we'll go ahead and move on to our last question for tonight. So what advice would you give to a student who's considering transferring to the College of Charleston? What's the piece of advice you would give them?
Okay, Alexa here. Honestly, I would come down, see the campus, admire how beautiful the city and the campus is. Really think about, for me, it was just the scenic Charleston, all the history in the city, and everything going through one of these myself. And honestly, if you're really considering, just take that leap of faith, because I know, looking back, it was hard leaving my other school and leaving everything, all my friends and everything behind, but I couldn't be happier with the decision I made on transferring because I'm thriving better academically. I'm so happy here. There's so much to do. I love the city. So my advice would just be take the leap of faith. You won't regret it.
Yeah, this is Kevin. I couldn't agree with Alexa more. I think it's kind of reflecting on yourself and how serious are you about what you want to do now and what you want to do in the future, and what College of Charleston has to offer you to help you with that, and all the support that is provided to you versus maybe where you're coming from. So it's kind of more of a pros and a cons. It's what is the College of Charleston giving you that can benefit you versus the situation you're in now? And it's really about commitment. And if you're committed to it, I think that's part of growing and maturing. And I would say exactly, tour the college, and you can actually go speak to different professors. You can speak to department heads. And like I did, I had a lot of questions, and I probably annoyed the head of the supply chain department and the department head for global logistics. I had a lot of questions and a lot of stuff we'd covered here. How do you make sure I graduate on time? What kind of opportunities can I look forward to for internships? What kind of jobs can I look forward to? And who do you bring in to educate us about this? Just like I said, it's just, you really have to commit. And like I said, to better yourself, and the College of Charleston can provide that. And I think actually going back and touching on a few questions back, which, maybe why is College of Charleston unique? I think some of the internship exposure you have at other schools, bigger schools, you might have similar companies or different companies, but you're competing with thousands and thousands of other students. Here at the College of Charleston, you might be a bigger fish in a smaller pond, and you would have opportunities you wouldn't at some of these other schools that maybe are larger or maybe didn't have such a broad program. I was able to go over to Munich, Germany last summer through the College of Charleston, through an internship set up through the Department of Commerce. And then it was followed up with another internship here in Charleston in global exports and international trade. I don't believe I would have even had that trajectory for experience at another school. I don't even know if this would even come across my peripheral. So, like I said, I would say a lot of it is commitment and knowing what you want and just going after it full steam.
Wonderful. Any other advice to share?
I have one more thing going back on what Kevin said. They want to help you. They want more than anything for you to succeed. Like, he just hit a point about internships, and I had one over the summer. They set me up, and I know since I'm a hospitality major, the head, his name is Brumby. There's a listserv. You get emails every single day about internship opportunities, work opportunities. They're so great, and they're so willing to help you, and they want you to succeed. So that was like, going off of what he said, I really that was one of my main things. Like, what am I not getting at my school of 30,000 kids that I'm getting at a much smaller school? They want you to succeed, and they want you to be the best person you can be, and there's so much opportunity here.
Any last minute pieces of advice from our panelists?
This is Emily. I would say some advice is as soon as you get here, just kind of throw yourself out there, get involved. That's how you're gonna make this transition the easiest, I feel like. I know I did this with clubs and I also did this with bothering all of my professors, but I'm not really bothering them. That's what they're there for. But I was there entirely too much. I would go all the time and ask a lot of questions, and that's helped me to be as successful as I have been so far. So that's the best advice I can give you is be involved and go bother your professors.
Wonderful. Well, I just want to thank all of our panelists tonight for sharing some insight and their experiences with all of us. I hope it was beneficial for all of you to hear from our current transfer students and recent graduates about their transfer student experience. So now I'm just going to turn it back to Kaylin.
That was awesome. Students, thank you so much for your insightful perspective and spending a little bit of your Tuesday night with us. And to our prospective applicants and guests, those are really great questions. I'm sure our students appreciated sharing a little bit about what makes the college special to them. And finally, to our guests, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We hope that tonight's open house has given you a greater understanding of not only the transfer process to the College of Charleston, but what your academic and student experience could be like if you do decide to make CofC your next stop in your undergraduate journey. Please do not hesitate to reach out to any of our Transfer Resource Center's team members. We are just a phone call or email away. Again, thank you so much and take care.